Frankie from Flatbush rides the Brooklyn line. Got a swagger sharp like a vintage wine. Everybody knows his name from porch to stoop. Hustle and dreams in every loop. In the park he struts, hits the handball wall. Echoes hear the stories when the shadows fall. Got 1,000 tales and a confident grin. On the streets of Flatbush where legends begin. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Bodega lights flicker when Frankie's near. He's got the rhythm, everybody cheers. Corner talks and sidewalk chalks his fame. In the Flatbush breeze you'll hear his name. Underneath the subway hum, the magic's real. Frankie's moves got that electric feel. From Atlantic Avenue to the urban hill, Flatbush Frankie's giving you a thrill. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Bodega lights flicker when Frankie's near, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Always on the go. Always on the go. Always on the go.
212. It's coffee with Frankie time. It's coffee with Frankie time. Phil Adams is here. Harlan Abraham is here. Hank G is here. Let me know if you can hear me okay in the chat. Exactly, Hank G. We got to think about the future. It's exactly right. Exactly right, Hank G. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Lot to talk about this morning. Lot to talk about this morning. But we can only talk about it if this microphone is working properly. So we need a mic check, mic check, mic check. This is Coffee with Frankie. This is the coffee. I am the Frankie. We can hear you, it says. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, today is Sunday. It's Championship Sunday, January 26, 2025. It is 10:04 a.m. on the East Coast of America as we bring you this content here today. And, of course, the Jets have made some news. In case you missed it yesterday, in case you were under a rock, we got our general manager. His name is Darren Mougey. Darren Mougey. And he's going to pair up with AG. And now we got some of our brain trust in place. We got AG, the HC, head coach Aaron Glenn. We got Darren Mougey, the GM. And we'll see if there's any other additions to the front office staff. We'll see who the coaches are going to be. Hopefully we start hearing about that today. But we also have something called the Senior Bowl starting soon. So it'd be nice if we had some people down there. Now, I'm sure some of our scouts are already down there. But it'd be nice to get some of our, our top people there as well. There's no doubt we already have scouts at all of these all-star games. For example, I saw an interview yesterday with the son of one Ray Mickens. You may not know that R.J. Mickens, Ray Mickens' son, is in this draft. And the reporters, for example, asked him if he had met with the Jets people and what he thought about the Jets. And he said, yes, I've met with the Jets. and he was congratulating him and Glenn on being named the head coach and seemed like a very nice young man. I don't know if we're going to draft him or not, but Remaking Son is in this draft, so that's something that maybe some people didn't know. Um, but we have all these All-Star games. You have the East-West Shrine Bowl, and then you have the big one, of course, the Senior Bowl, and all of these things. And we might want to start taking a look at some of the prospects. For example, Joe Blewett has a little something up on X here. Maybe we'll take a look at this to see something about old Mason Graham. Let's take a look at this. Now, if I do this, let's see if we can. Oh, that's better. Let's see if we can take a look at something that Joe Blewett posted, because now we're moving into prospect time. See if this works. Moving into prospect time. So Blewett has this highlighted here. You see number 55, that would be Mason Graham. He's standing up in this particular alignment, 4-tech or so. And look what happened. Now they're playing Oregon. Oh boy, you love to see. Now it's just one play. But this is Oregon, so they were the number one team in the whole country this year. This is Dylan Gabriel here. And he throws him around like a rag doll. That's what we need around here. So we're going to start seeing some things like that come out, and it's going to be important to have your filters on. For example, Joe Blewett's a great source of information, of course, when he's being his analyst self, his objective analyst self. When he's being Joe Blewett, the fan, the Jet fan, like the passionate Jet fan, like when he's at the game, nah, he's not so good to listen to about what he's doing and what he's saying. But when he's in the analyst mode, excellent. For example, now it's also Championship Sunday, so we're going to have another broadcast tonight during the Bills Chiefs game at 6:30 p.m. I hope you'll join me. And one of the things that came out this morning was very interesting. Adam Schefter put something out about penalties, because we're all concerned about the penalties with the Kansas Swifty Chiefs and how they're not going to let the Swifty Chiefs lose. Well, Adam Schefter put something out this morning. Penalties during Chiefs 8-game win streak in playoffs via Paul Hembo. Roughing the passer penalties during this time, the Chiefs received 0 penalties for such a violation of the rules. However, their opponents during this 8-game win streak received 6. Think that's fair? The Chiefs, in their 8-game win streak, they never roughed the passer once. Not one time did they rough the passer. But their opponents, 6 times. All right, well, what about unnecessary roughness? Unnecessary roughness. Well, in 8 games, the Chiefs got hit with 1 penalty during that whole time. 1. Well, how many did their opponents get? 4. So for roughing the passer and unnecessary roughness combined in 8 games, their Chiefs' opponents got 10 such calls. The Chiefs got 1. Yeah, it's real fair. I'll tell you that much. Real fair. It's real fair. And then Schefter goes on to say, for all those complaining that Patrick Mahomes gets too many calls, relief could be on the way. NFL Replay Assist is expected to expand this offseason into plays that could include the quarterback slide, league sources told ESPN. I mean, why aren't they getting rid of rules? We need to get rid of rules. Some of these rules just got to go. That's one of the things they could do. Take it out of the hands of the referees, for example. Now, we're also going to get things like mock drafts happening and so forth and so on. And Daniel Jeremiah has his first mock draft out, in case you didn't see that. and he has us taking at pick number 7, Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, which would be a fine pick. Depends on, we got a lot of decisions to make, but also now the 33rd team has their, I think, first or one of their early mock drafts, and they have us taking Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia, I believe, or yeah, Georgia, I think. So Malachi Starks. So there's all these people that we could take. And other mock drafts had us taking Mason Graham, and other mock drafts have us taking, Ted McMillan or this one or that one. We got a lot of holes to fill. That much we know, and that's why we could go any which way. But we are going to get a good prospect at number 7, and that's important and good to know. Now, there's another article out about Chip Kelly as well. There's a bunch of teams that are following or that are pursuing Chip Kelly to be their offensive coordinator, but it doesn't seem like we are. You gotta wonder why that is. Um, I think we should at least talk to Chip Kelly. Why not? He seems like a great offensive coordinator candidate. Um, but he did not in the cards for us. It seems like it's the Texans and the Jaguars and one other team. Let's see what this says here. Jaguars and Texans for sure. Maybe the Saints are looking at him. Saints are having a hard time in this offseason. Their coaching search is not going. They've had 2 candidates tell them no, thank you, and they were candidates who worked there. Rollins says pick number 7 is too high for a safety. Yeah, but Malachi Starks is a really good prospect. You could look at Malachi. Well, it depends upon the composition of the team. I wouldn't want to take a safety that high, considering all the other holes we have on the team. Now, if you have everything else taken care of and you just really need a safety, he'd be a good pick, regardless of how high it is. But we have too many other needs, in my opinion, at premium positions. Now, that could change with free agent signings. I mean, it depends if we sign Sherwood, if we sign Eccles. We got to see who we sign. But we're gonna have a lot of holes. Phil Adams, NFL fans mustn't let flopping take hold in the game. Diving or faking has ruined the round ball game worldwide. So, yeah, that's true. This flopping issue, that's why we got to keep on it. I mean, public opinion is an important thing. Fan sentiment, express it on social media. We're going to talk about it on this channel when the games are going on. That stuff does trickle down to the important media people, and then once it goes to the important media people, then it trickles up to the decision makers, where they might be influenced to make a change. There's a lot of changes I would make with the rule book myself, but of course the NFL doesn't want to make a bunch of changes if they don't need to, because why mess with something that's successful? But if there's enough fan outrage, and then if there's enough media outrage, we can get change. It can happen. So we just got to keep talking about it. I call him Kermit McFloppy, and maybe he should flop less if he doesn't want to be called Kermit McFloppy. As an example, shame is a powerful tool. It's one of the few we got as fans. Sometimes all you got is you shame people. That's all you can do for bad behavior. What else are we gonna do? He's Patrick Mahomes, for God's sakes. He's the face of the league. But hey, sometimes bottom up movements can work. So that's one of the reasons why we stay on these things. So Phil Adams says, who will be on the Jets interview panel for OC and DC? Well, it's mostly going to be Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey. I'm sure Woody will be sitting there, but ultimately the OC and DC is Aaron Glenn's call. Aaron Glenn is the boss of the coaches. So it's essentially who he wants and who he wants to get input from. He might get input from his informal Legends panel. Don't forget, he has access to and speaks regularly to people like um, Bill Parcells, for example. So he may bounce some ideas off of Bill Parcells, because that's his mentor, his main mentor. And Parcells is obviously out of the league. He's not going to call up Sean Payton. That would be awkward. That's one of his other mentors, but he's not going to call up Sean Payton because he's the head coach of the Broncos. But Parcells, he might call up and bounce some ideas off of and things like that. But it's mostly his call. But he'll be in there, obviously, and Mougey will be in there, just to give feedback or just to be involved, to know what's going on. Woody might be in there, might not be in there. I don't know. However, they're going to run it. But those are the main guys. It's essentially Glenn's call. Now, Glenn, we've heard that Aaron Glenn has already been making phone calls and lining people up and getting people ready. Like we've heard a lot about Nick Caley and Steve Wilkes, for example. Some people are saying those people are already hired. They're just not announced. I don't believe that until I see it reported by a reputable source. But some people have said that. I don't believe it until I see it by reputable sources. And so we'll have to see. It could, the search could be very quick. In other words, Phil, like, Glenn we could just offer them the job. I don't think, or maybe you do have to go through. Do you have to do the Rooney Rule for the coordinators? I think you do, actually. So, okay, so we'll have to have some interviews then to satisfy the Rooney Rule, I guess. And I guess it's a good idea to interview them, but they could do virtual interviews for an hour and then be done. It can happen very quickly. I'm pretty sure the Rooney Rule applies to OCs and DCs also. So yeah, so we might have to have some quick virtual interviews with 2, 3, 4 candidates, something like that. But from what we heard, from what the reporting has been, is that Glenn already has a lot of his staff mapped out. So we'll have to see. Now that Mougey's in place now, you would think we would get some announcements today, maybe, if not tomorrow, to start seeing who are some of these people are going to fill in here on the staff, and then we'll know a lot more. And who are we sending down to the Senior Bowl? We got to get some people down to the Senior Bowl. Let's look at these kids. Let's look at these prospects. There's a lot going on. The East-West Shrine Bowl. Then we got the Senior Bowl. All of these all-star games for the college kids. This is the season we're in now. So let's get some people down there. Now we do have scouts there. Let's not think we don't have anybody down there. We do. We got some of our scouts, down there. But Aaron Glenn may want to go down there himself and lay eyes on some of these kids, So there's that. Arlen says Jets have a lot of holes to fill. Yeah, and then we're going to be in competition for, Salah's going to pull on some of the guys, and Ulbrich will pull on some of the guys. Yeah, they all want their guys. We'll be in competition. That's why I keep saying we need to sign our premier ones: Sherwood, Eccles. I would sign Sherwood, Eccles, Moses, and Conklin, and not let them get to free agency. Just sign them now before they can get on the open market. Just get them in the fold. We want them. You got to pay a little bit extra, fine. Just make it far out in the in the contract so that we can, because we're gonna have to absorb some cap hits this year, and just get them in the fold so that they don't get on the market. Those are the ones that you really worry about. I mean, Sherwood's the main one. We really need him back. The Falcons, the 49ers, anybody could sign him. Anybody in the whole league. It could be Ulbrich, could be Salah, could be, but any team's going to look at Sherwood and want him. So let's sign him. Let's get him. Let's not let him get to the market. Let's be smart, Mougey. And now that we have the GM in place, that's going to be one of the first orders of business after he decides what to do with the three amigos. JoJo was a man from Tucson, Arizona. Get back, JoJo. JoJo says, looks like they put in a request to interview QB coach on Texans for OC. According to who, Jojo? According to whom? We got to be careful because there's a lot of rumors that fly around these days. I try to stick to reputable sources. Now, I think it was mentioned Gerard Jones or Johnson or something. But know if we put in a request for him or if we are just interested in him. Let me go through the list here, see if it was reported by anybody reputable. We want to avoid unreputable rumors. Now we could, I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's not crazy. George Payton, Grant Udinsky, George Russell. I saw something about that somewhere, but whatever it is, I'd like to get it, I'd like to get these guys down quickly, at least the OC and DC. I mean, Glenn has had all this time to think about it. You know what I mean? I think we need to do a full field search. I can't find it anywhere. Let me know what the source is, JoJo, so I can maybe research it. They are talking about Chris Banjo. So get your fiddles ready and play your banjo for the special teams coordinator. So, what about Leon Washington for special teams coordinator? Why isn't he in consideration? He was here for a while as the assistant. How about a little promotion for Leon? I can't find it, JoJo. Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of people. I mean, the reporting on Josh McCown, for example. I mean, Josh McCown would be a home run choice, but the reporting is he's not going to leave Minnesota unless he gets a head coach job, which I don't know why he would do that. He's a quarterback coach right now. You would think going to the Jets and being an OC for a few years would be a good career path. Now maybe he doesn't want to go to the Jets for OC because they don't doesn't like that situation with the offense that we have. But the reporting was he only wants to leave Minnesota if he's a head coach. OC, no, thank you for anybody, which is a little weird. Little weird. How about that mayor of, was it the mayor of Philadelphia who couldn't spell the word Eagles? That's pretty, that's, that's dereliction of duty. You got to know how to spell your sports teams' names. Um, yeah, B Trav says I think they have this in the NBA also, B Trav. Somebody said yesterday they call it flopping penalties in the NBA, the LeBron James rules. Remember how LeBron James used to flump like I don't know, something that flops a lot. Yeah, I agree. That's something they could put in. But they also got to take out some rules. You can't just keep adding rules. For every one rule you institute, you got to take two out. That could be a rule. We got to make fewer rules. The fewer rules you have, the fewer flags there will be. Nobody wants a lot of flags in a game. I mean, if there's legitimate penalties, yes, of course. But these ticky tack things that nobody has, that are stupid. Let's get rid of illegal grounding. Let intentional grounding. There's no reason to prevent quarterback from protecting themselves by throwing the ball away. There's just no reason. Just let them do it. It used to be that way. Then they put in this stupid rule. There's no reason to have it. There's no reason at all. And second, let's get rid of illegal man downfield. That's the dumbest rule of all time. I hate that rule. Why don't you want offensive linemen going downfield? Well, they might run and block somebody. What? They might run and block somebody. This is football. This isn't baseball. This isn't tiddlywinks. Okay, it's football. Run downfield and block somebody. Yeah, that's what you want. It's the dumbest rule ever. Those are two very dumb rules that need to go away. Go away, NFL, and that gives the refs less things to throw a flag about. all these plays where the play happens, then there's a flag, and then you got to wait for the idiot to tell you what happened. That ruins the whole flow of the game. It's so dumb. And the fans get all excited about this play that was so good. Oh, look at this awesome play. Nope, flag. Sorry, didn't happen. Oh, it's terrible. It's a terrible viewing experience for the consumer, Goodell. It's a bad viewing experience on television where you make a lot of money for the consumer who may watch less in the future if this continues, Mr. Roger. See? And same thing with flopping. Flopping is bad for the viewing experience. Nobody wants to see these dudes flopping around. Kermit McFloppy, stop it. Joshy McFloppy, stop it. Enough of this flopping around. Sick of it. Sick of it. Nate is here. Morning mocha with Frankie. Yeah, and if you would hit the like button, I'd appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications and hit any other buttons that happen to appear on your television or computer screen. Arlen Abraham said, Jets aren't ready to sign free agent yet. Yeah, but they will be. It's going to happen quick, Harlan. Like get this kid in here, get this guy in here, Mougey, and he's going to have to get his staff ramped up, and we're going to have to, do self scouting within the next. We have time though. Free agency starts in March, so in February, middle February, let's get Sherwood signed up. Let's get Eccles. Let's get Morgan. Let's get Conk. There's no reason not to sign those people to very reasonable deals. Except for Sherwood probably will get a good deal, but the rest you could sign for very reasonable deals. And there's no reason why. We have until the mid March. So, mid February, late February, we can get those people signed up. When we get our staff ready, we do our self scouting, et cetera, et cetera. No problem. No problem. The practice squad is not really something we should be worried about, Ohio Jets fan, at this point. Now, we signed a bunch of people already to futures contracts. When you sign people to futures contracts, that's essentially your P squad. The P squad is not really something to worry about. I wish they could do something more with the P squad. I wish they could make it more of like a developmental squad or something, but that would take a lot of negotiating with the union. But we have about 10 or 11 people on the practice squad. We did not re-sign, by the way, Bam, what's his name? Who we had on the practice squad this year. He did not re-sign a futures contract with us. So that's kind of interesting. Cole Laval, for example, and Adrian Martinez did sign. So those are two guys to maybe watch from the P squad. McCown wants to stay where he is for the moment. Yeah. Georgia says, read it on U Stadium. Okay. So I would say U Stadium is like a 50-50. Sometimes they have good information, sometimes they don't. In fact, I should probably. So that's not a terrible source, I would say. Let's look up U Stadium right now. They have a bunch of accounts, I think. Yeah, U Stadium University, NHL on U Stadium, U Stadium. So they have a bunch of these. U Stadium Fantasy, U Stadium NBA, U Stadium Bets, U Stadium Tech, U Stadium FC. Where's Jesus Christ? Where's the NFL one? Here's the main one, U Stadium. Okay, here it is, 12 hours ago. Jets have interest. So that's the way they put it. Have interest. They didn't request him. It just says have interest, according to this. In interviewing Gerard Johnson. Yeah. So this just says they have interest. It does not say per source. You notice? So how does U Stadium know this? Not saying it's per source, not saying what kind of source. They're just stating it, which is weird. So I would say UU Stadium is kind of sketch. They have some interesting information on here and they repost a lot of things from other people, but I would say they're kind of sketch. Though they do have some good information sometimes. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It's not terrible. It's not like some of these Joker accounts, bunch of jokers. But we probably do. We'll see. Yeah, we already talked about this, Ohio. Wayne136 says, who's the cap guy? Yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing that we have to find out here in the next, week or two as the staffs get built out. We, of course, already have cap guys, but I don't think that they're very good. And I would call them more contract specialists, of course, having to do with the cap. But we'll see what Mr. Mougey wants to do with his staff. Does he want to keep Phil Savage? Does he want to keep any of the Jets cap people? I would not personally. I'd fire all their asses. get new people in there because I don't think the way we've been writing contracts has been really good. I think so. I think we could do a lot better. PC says, yeah, the space station. We got to think about the future, PC. So we're in our futuristic space station, traveling through outer space. We're going to go through the hyperspace bypass, and we got to think about the future, PC. So we're thinking futuristically today. Yeah, this is kind of like the way I was just going through their feed, Nate, and I was like, they just kind of say the things everybody else is saying. And when they do say something like the Jets have interest in Gerard Johnson, which they may have, it's not a crazy thought, but they don't attribute it to a source that they have. They don't attribute it to a source. Like real reporters say per league source, per sources. Sometimes Connor Hughes will say, I am speaking to Robert Saleh right now on the telephone. you know, it's like, so the source is Robert Saleh. Like, but it seems like U Stadium doesn't really do that. They repost what other people are saying and just regurgitate stuff. And then when they do say something original, they don't say per source. They just say Jets are interested, which they might be, but they might not be. And how much interest? I mean, they might be mildly interested. They might be interested as a backup plan. It doesn't really tell you much. It's like saying, I mean, I'm sure the Jets are interested in every quarterback coach to some degree or other out there. And that all the quarterback coaches are, for the most part, people that are generally going to be on the rise, eventually making it to offensive coordinator. That's kind of the pipeline for offensive coordinators is through, generally speaking, through the quarterback coach route. And so all quarterback coaches from all the teams, could be considered of interest because they are to some degree, you know. So it's not really telling us much. Doesn't mean it's wrong. Could be right. And we'll see what Glenn wants to do. But we should start seeing some information percolating through the wires here today, I would think. Mougey's in place. Hopefully he signed the contract already, officially put pen to paper. So it's official. And same thing with Glenn. And they can then get to the damn facility, start putting their heads together and start figuring some of this stuff out. And then we should start getting some information from people once those decisions are made. I'm hoping we get some information today, and we don't have to wait, because if we don't get any information today at all about coaches being hired, front office people, etc., then they're going to try to get it from them at the press conference tomorrow. Tomorrow, the press conference at 1 p.m. And they're not going to say anything at the press conference. They're going to say, "Who are you thinking for your staff?" Well, we're considering a wide variety of people, and they're not going to tell you. Are you going to have cat people? Well, I just got here, Jim. I guarantee you, watch this tomorrow, 1 p.m. Somebody, Rich Samini's going to ask a question. Darren, Mougey, are you going to add any cat people to your staff? Are you going to? And Mougey will say, "Well, I just got here 5 minutes ago, Rich." And everybody will laugh. You watch, guaranteed. So I haven't had a chance, but I'm going to go through all the things very carefully. So we're not going to get any information out of the press conference. So that's why you hope some of these decisions start happening today, and we start getting some information today. They're not going to tell you at a press conference. This is interesting. So the Commanders, Mark Ein is reporting. Let's see who this is. Committed civically and philanthropically to the Washington, D.C. community. So apparently this is a guy in Washington, D.C. He says, no matter what happens, talking about Championship Sunday, we will never forget the spirit of this week as our Commanders fan base has been reawakened. Seeing buildings lit up all over town, team gear everywhere, and endless stories of people falling back in love with their team. You might say they're more of a bandwagon fans, but okay. Has been extraordinary. Thank you. So that's kind of an interesting thing because, of course, the Commanders, the Redskins, the football team, they were in the ghetto with us for a long time. And that is actually a very, as we all know, a very passionate fan base, very long-standing and passionate fan base. And now you're seeing them turn it around. Now, the sad part is they had to have the owner change over. And that's kickstarted all of this. They got Daniel Snyder's stinky ass of the building. You're sitting here ruining everything, creating a vile workplace. You're sexually harassing people. Get this guy out of here. Took them years and years and years to get rid of that guy, but they finally did, and they brought in apparently a good owner, Josh Harris, who also has 20 partners. By the way, it's not just him. 20 partners to make a $6 billion purchase of the Commanders. And so then he made a good. Then he hired the 33rd team, and they helped him hire Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, and they drafted properly with Jaden Daniels. They built up the team, bada bing, bada boom, and here they are. And now everybody's all excited. Now, can something similar happen to the Jets without a changeover of Woody and Brick and the rest of the nincompoops at the top? Well, that remains to be seen. We are seeing some positive reports come out about these interviews that people are actually impressed with Woody and Christopher in terms of the way that they're handling the interviews and also the fact that they're saying they've learned from their mistakes. So that's one thing that's good, but we got to see it in action over time. And that's what we have to hope, because I don't think Woody's ever selling it. Based on everything we've heard, I don't think Woody's ever selling that team. It's an asset that he has that he's going to hand over to his children, and that's just the way it is. And that being said, look at some of these other, look at how these searches have gone for some of these other teams. Look what happened with the Cowboys. Any Cowboy fan happy today? Is there any Cowboy fan on earth happy today? Let me ask you that question. Is there any Dallas Cowboy fan happy right now today with what happened with their coaching search? Find one Cowboy fan other than Brian Schottenheimer's family who's happy with what happened there. And look at what's going on with the Saints. The Saints were thought to be a very stable franchise. What's going on there? They can't. Two of their own people told them no, thank you. Joe Brady and Aaron Glenn said no, thank you to the Saints, and they still don't have a coach. And look what happened in Jacksonville, all the nonsense there that went on. So you can say what you want about Woody, at least in this search, it seems like he's done okay. And so we're Jet fans. We got to take any sliver, slice, portion of good news that we can get and kind of be happy with it, because it's very clear Woody's one of the worst owners in the league, but he's not in the Daniel Snyder level. I mean, he's just not, as far as we know today. So he's not going anywhere. Even if you are on the Daniel Snyder level, look how many years it took for the NFL to get that guy out. Years and years and years. And that was a total jackass he was, and apparently is. So maybe something could happen in that regard with us without a turnover of Woody. I think the cap people are Woody's guys. Let's hope not, JoJo. I'm hoping not, but probably true. Probably true. Yeah, AFG, we got to think about the future. So we're here in our spaceship because we got to think futuristically. We're going to be taking off. The Renaissance begins tomorrow. Oh, let me put that on the bottom. The Renaissance commences mañana. 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 Tomorrow. The Renaissance, and the Renaissance is all about the future. So we're in our spaceship. We're taking off. We're going around the universe to find the kind of talent we need to take this team to the next level. That's what we're doing. Bill Adams says, anybody know if Lions have free agents our new HC would want? Phil, you should know better by now, Phil. You can go to the community tab of this here channel, Frankie from Flatbush. I've already done the work for you. I've already done the work for you, Phil. You go to the community tab. You see the one where I post all of their pending free agents, and the ones I circle are the ones we're going to get, buddy. I've already done this work. Yes, there are some. There's a cornerback. There's defensive linemen. There's all sorts of people. There's the safety. There's this and that. They got a lot of free agents, and they might sign some back, but if they go to market, Glenn's going to want some, and we'll get some, probably. Dodes. Yeah, that would be like the only reason to hire Ron Rivera, right? He's the owner. What do you want to call him? The owner the owner ejector. That's you hire Ron Rivera, and sooner or later the owner says, I can't take this anymore. I'm selling. Yeah, that would be the only reason to hire Ron. Unfortunately, he's a little past his prime. Okay. Time to move into probably the media, I would say. Or Mr. Arriba. Todd is here. Howdy, Todd. Remember, if you've eaten food today or any time in the past week, thank a farmer. Alan Dodds. Yeah. And I think and it came to a good conclusion. We got a top candidate, and we're a trash franchise. Let's show. Let me show you show you guys a graphic somebody put together that I thought was really good. And this helps explain my ghetto metaphor. The ghetto. So my metaphor is that the NFL is a city, And there's basically three communities in the city. You got your gated community, you got your middle class, and you got the ghetto. And the Jets are in the ghetto and have been for the past 10 years. And the goal is to try to get out of the ghetto and get into, the middle class, and then eventually the gated community. Somebody put this together. I thought it was interesting. This says every NFL team's biggest accomplishment the past 10 years. So there's a couple of teams won some Super Bowls, won multiple Super Bowls in the past 10 years. 4 of these teams won 1 Super Bowl. These 5 teams here made a Super Bowl appearance. All of these teams here have made a conference championship appearance. Even though the person misspelled appearance, we'll let that go because it's a nice little graphic. These teams here won a playoff game. Even the Giants, even the Browns. And these 3 teams made the playoffs, at least, including the Bears and the Raiders, who are in the ghetto with us. And 1 team did nothing. That's your New York Jets. I mean, does this not explain it? Does this not explain what's going on with this goddamn team? Over the past decade. Now, what else has happened over the past decade? Well, the rise of social media. The rise of social media, for example, happened. The rise of fantasy football happened. While all these teams were having various levels of success to some degree or other, we have had none. And social media has come to the, has exploded. YouTube has exploded. Fantasy football has exploded. Betting has become legalized, mostly in the United States now. So there's just it's sort of like a high fever pitch about sports now because of all these things. And we chose this era to do nothing, no playoffs, no nothing for the past 10 years, when every other team has at least made the playoffs once. We did not. Really goes to show you it's not a perfect match, but it kind of explains in a visual sense what I'm talking about when I talk about the ghetto and the middle class and the gated community of the NFL city. Now, it's not a perfect match because, like, for example, the Panthers, the Carolina Panthers now are in the ghetto with us, right? Um, certainly the Lions now are in the gated community. The Titans now are in the ghetto with us. So it's not perfect. And certainly the Bills, of course, are in the ghetto, are in the gated community. And the Giants are in the ghetto. Browns are in the ghetto. Middle class, middle class, middle class. The Bears are in the ghetto with us. The Raiders. I would put the Dolphins probably in the middle class. Maybe I'll do like a tier list. Maybe that'll be a good video for the future to explain the concept. People don't seem to understand. But the idea being that this is the case. And still, we hired a let's say top 5 to be conservative candidate. A top 5 candidate we hired. And this is us down here. I mean, the fact that we got anybody to want to coach this freaking team and we got a top 5 candidate. What? So look, you got to look at that as good news. And then Darren Mougey, is a highly qualified guy, though young. So I thought that was a good illustration of some of the things that I talk about a lot, and also just as an understanding of where we are as a franchise. Yeah, PC Salami. Imagine you're a fan of the Cowboys and you got Jerry Jones, who's the owner and the GM. He's not just a bad owner, he's the official general manager of the team, you know. He's not just a bad owner. And then you got Steven, who's involved in the front office, Steven Jones. And then you got Charlotte Jones, who's running the marketing. You got the whole Jones family. And they're not giving that up anytime soon. Of course not. Yeah, and then Shad Khan figured out. I mean, but how can you say? I mean, Shad Khan has to be a bad owner as well, even though they salvaged it at the last second. You'd have to say Shad Khan's a pretty bad owner. Yeah, this is all we ever did. One good season, but we missed the playoffs. We didn't even make the playoffs, Alan. We just missed, but we missed. We had one good damn season since 2012. Jets are the Jets are homeless. The Jets are in the ghetto, but they're living in a cardboard box. Yeah, they're living in a lean-to. You guys know what a lean-to is? Got to live in a lean-to. You don't want to live in a lean-to. That's true. Yeah, yeah. Indy Jets is here. Good to see Indy Jets. Got to stay on that grind, Indy. We need you to get off the fan injury list. Safe bet is the Jets don't make the playoffs. Yeah. B Trav is here. Says, imagine how much the team would be worth with a few fantasy superstars and playoff wins. Yeah, we're still. That's very true. Even with all of that suckage, we're still top five in the league in valuations, which is really kind of interesting. And it really does make you wonder, like, you might look at it like, well, Woody's never going to change. He's never going to do anything different, and he's never going to care because the value just keeps going up no matter what he does, seemingly. But you could also look at the flip side. What if he managed the team really well? What if he hired really good people and got out of their way? How much I mean, could we be the number one? I mean, imagine and plus we have terrible uniforms as well, and uniforms are part of the branding image, and our uniforms are terrible in terms of color scheme. They're the same colors as the playing surface. That's not good. So you could do a total rebranding. They got the logo right this year, so that's cool. But now they need to fix the colors, in my opinion. Although I know that's unpopular. Um, and nonetheless, I mean, could they overtake the Cowboys? The Cowboys are the most valuable franchise if they actually were well run and were just perennially in the playoffs and won a Super Bowl or two, God forbid. How valuable would the Jets be then? I mean, Woody could look at it like that. Like, why look at it with the negative viewpoint? Like, hey, I could just run this like a moron and it'll still go up. Yeah, but if you run it well, how much could it go up then? You understand? Maybe you could double from what it is now, dummy. Right? Like, why just settle for it going up a little bit each year, even though it's tons of money we're talking about? But still, wouldn't you want it to go up more? Dumb dumb. So stupid. Uh, and that's on the business side. So McGuire's here. He's going to talk about Jaime, I bet. Yep. But so Jaime is mentioned here in this comment by McGuire. But like so Jaime's on the business side. And then the idea is that Jaime and what's the other guy, Ira, are influencing, Woody's decisions on the football side. But at some point, shouldn't Woody learn, like, keep the business people over here? And maybe these business people like Jaime and Ira and all David Sosi and all these other people underneath Jaime, maybe they're not the best you can get. Maybe you can improve them. Maybe they're no good. Maybe they stink. Now, you could say, well, but the value of the team keeps going up. So isn't that good? Well, I mean, is that because of anything Jaime's doing? So I do think there needs to be a full review of Jaime and his role and how he's performing, and everybody underneath Jaime. Me personally, and McGuire knows this, I would get rid of them all. Bloodbath at Florham Park. Get rid of all those people. There's probably some of those people are leaking to Dirty Diana and the rest, and I would bring in fresh blood. Let's get some fresh ideas in you on how to do things. We can't, with the contracts and stuff. It's important. How you build your contracts helps you attract and keep different amount of talent. The talent then allows you to compete. And competing and getting to the playoffs and winning a Super Bowl for the Jets would make the value of the franchise increase. Perhaps we need to keep talking about that. It's not just that you win a Super Bowl and the fans are happy, which is nice, I guess. But if you just, let's say Woody doesn't, let's just say Woody's just a business guy. He's a pencil neck geek. He doesn't give a shit about football. After all, he didn't play, unlike Jerry Jones, who did play, by the way. He was an offensive lineman in Arkansas back in the day. Um, but Woody didn't. Woody didn't. I don't think Woody played any football that we know about. You think Woody played football? So maybe he doesn't care about that, but he probably does care about the value of the franchise. And wouldn't it be better instead of it going incrementally up every year, it just exploded in value and hockey sticked up? Wouldn't that be better? I think so. Okay, so if that would be better and we want to do that, how can we do that? Well, maybe getting rid of the business people like Jaime and all the rest. Jaime and Ira, get Ira out of the building. Ira's the consultant that comes in that everybody calls the Bobs. Ira and probably his whole team, they call them the Bobs. Maybe get rid of them for the Jets. You can keep them for your other businesses, Woody. Fine. You want somebody to help you with your Johnson company. By the way, Woody's other company is called the Johnson Company, so it's not exactly a creative man. Well, the way to make the value of the franchise go up faster, which as a business person you should want up and to the right, sir, is to win. And to win, you let the football people, if they're good, make football decisions and not Jaime and Ira and yourself talking about let's bench Roger or whatever other suggestions you or Brick or anybody else who's not a football person may have. You keep those opinions to your damn self in your damn owner's box and you let the football people figure it out. Why? Because that's the way that the value of the franchise is going to grow the fastest. Maybe we put it that way, McGuire. We need to start talking about these things in those terms. Maybe we just need to be talking about the business side all the time. Maybe we just need to be talking about the business side all the time. And every decision that gets made on the football side, we say, how's this going to affect the business side? How, and in the context of winning helps the business side, not just, how are we going to sell more beers? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, PC. Would you like to be a Cowboy fan this morning? Anybody want to be a Cowboy fan this morning? I think probably 20% of Cowboy fans are giving up their fandom and just going, you know what? I'm going to follow University of Texas. Get me out of here. I'm not going to follow this Cowboys. Maybe they're becoming Texans fans. I mean, after all, the Houston Texans are called the Houston Texans. If you know anything about Texas, you know that Texans, who used to be called Texians back in the day, what they're doing. Houston Texans, they're called Texans, but people from Texas love to identify as Texans and from Texas. They're all about Texas. And the Houston Texans are called the Houston Texans for that reason. And maybe some Cowboy fans are looking at D'Amico Ryans and going, "Hey, why don't I go over there?" They seem to know what they're doing to some degree, although they're firing all their coaches now for some reason. Think about this. D'Amico Ryans and the Texans, they show up. They go to a moribund franchise, right, with Dougie Mills as their quarterback. D'Amico Ryans, the energy, the defense, running around, big smile on his face, all this. All right. Well, they turn it around. They take CJ Stroud. That was a big part of it. They make a bunch of good draft picks, Stingley and the rest. And they turn it around. They make the playoffs. First year, they win a playoff game. First year out of the gate. Second year, make the playoffs. Win a playoff game. Okay, you think this is going great. I mean, 2 years, he steps in. This is a first-time defensive head coach, D'Amico Ryans. So there's an example, first-time head coach defense. We're hoping the same happens with us. Fingers crossed. Right, D'Amico Ryans. Now we got to just draft our CJ Stroud and we'll be fine. Good luck. But nonetheless, and now they're firing all of their coaches. It's not just Slowick. They fired Slowick and the offensive line coach and a bunch of other people, I think today or yesterday. They're just firing everybody. Anybody digging into why that's happening? What's going on with the Texans? They're not happy that with playoff wins in the first 2 years of a program? Okay, fine. You wanted a little bit more. Okay, it was a little disappointing. Okay, CJ Stroud took a little bit of a step back, but I mean, geez, ever hear of a sophomore slump? I mean, come on. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? JoJo says, not as talented as Bowers. Yeah, but you know what? Tyler Warren is a really good player. He's not going to be the pass catcher that Bowers is, but Bowers is not the blocker that Tyler Warren is, JoJo. And the type of now 7 is too high for the tight end. I don't think we're going to do that. But Tyler Warren is a different type of guy. I'd love to have Tyler Warren on my team. I'd like to have Brock Bowers on my team too. Don't get me wrong. That's a great player. But Warren's can actually block somebody, okay, and help us in the run game and the pass game, and be the emergency quarterback as well. That dude is special. Yeah. Yeah. So those who don't know, McGuire definitely has it out for Jaime. We get it, McGuire. We get it. I talk about it all the time, McGuire. So this is like other chat rooms, other hosts that maybe they don't know about Jaime, and maybe they don't talk about Jaime, and so you're used to maybe talking about him in other chat rooms. I talk about him all the time, McGuire. I'm well aware, and we discuss him and his role here a lot. Don't you think, McGuire? I mean, I understand. I try to take a holistic approach of the whole thing, much different than other content creators, I think. So we get it. And just so everybody knows, McGuire, this is like McGuire's pet issue. So Jaime, let's get Jaime out of here. McGuire, if they ever fire Jaime, we got to throw a party. Like we got to have the Jaime just got fired party. Not that you want to see anybody get fired, but this guy is no good. Now, actually, well, more marketing. You're saying, well, I don't know about that, but there are often conflicts between the business side and the football side. That is not unique. That is not unique. So there's often conflicts. It's just I don't think Woody's strong enough as an operator. Think about Woody as an operator, right? Woody is really an operator. An operator is, somebody who starts a startup company. They're an operator, right? They're a founder, sometimes they're called, but a lot of times they're called an operator by VC funds and things. And they say, is this operator a strong operator or weak? Do they have a track record of starting businesses that went viral, that were successful? Or are they just full of failures? Are they a loser? Is this a first time thing they're doing? So they call those people operators. Are you a strong operator or a weak operator? I think Woody's a weak operator. I don't think he can stand up to Jaime and say, "All right, you get out of here. You're not. It's not appropriate for you to be in this meeting, Jaime. Stay on the business side." And I don't even think Jaime's doing a good job on the business side. Yes, the value of the franchise is high, but I think it could be a lot higher. I think it could be a lot higher. If somebody isn't um, talking about branding, the branding of the Jets constantly and saying these colors are doing us no favors in terms of branding. The logo we finally got right. Okay, so give them credit for that. That should be our logo. Absolutely going forward. But colors are a big part of your branding. I mean, when you think about the Las Vegas Raiders, for example, you think about the silver and black. It's like part of their deal. When you think about the 49ers, you think about those colors, those unique red and gold and whatever that other color they have in there that's a unique kind of color. You think about it, just comes to mind. When you think about Jets, green, it makes no sense. And so that's an example of a branding issue. That's a business issue. Branding is a business issue that can affect the value of the team. Would help if we also were winning football games, but just talking about business now. That it seems like nobody wants to touch. So what is Jaime even doing? Like, what is the value of Jaime? What, he knows how to keep the books? I mean, you can just hire an accountant to do that. I mean, what is the real value of having Jaime at the top of the business side? What value is he bringing? Oh, he's got all these partnerships. We have all these, Pepsi is the official soft drink of the New York Jets. He brings those people in. But nobody else could bring those in? Nobody else could possibly bring in the official soft drink of the New York Jets? Really? Nobody could bring in JetBlue? Nobody else could figure out how to do a partnership with JetBlue and all these companies? So you need somebody who can do all those things, but that's just meat and potatoes, man. Then you need the creative stuff. How are we really going to take the value of this franchise to the next level? I think it was a creative thing that they created One Jets Drive, all that media stuff they do. Okay, that was a good idea. Whoever came up with that, I give them that much. But we need to keep doing more. It's not personal. It's just business. Joe Mike says, Frankie, Jet fans should be happy today. Doogie, I think you mean Mougey, was the best choice out of the three finalists. Newmark would have been a disaster. I don't know if Newmark would have been a disaster, but I liked all three of the candidates, and Mougey was my favorite too. But I would have been happy with any of them. It did seem like it was kind of like Mougey, then Brown, then Newmark, but they were all highly qualified candidates. We don't know that Newmark would have been a disaster. Newmark, for example, one of the things, I didn't go into in-depth researching him because it wasn't official, and I'll do more work on Mougey, of course, coming in the future. But one of the things that popped up about Newmark was that he was pounding the table for Kirby Joseph, for example, when the Lions drafted him with Brad Holmes. Now, it doesn't take a genius to pound the table for Kirby Joseph. I was pounding the table for Kirby Joseph for the Jets. So I'm not saying that makes him a genius because I'm just a schmendrick with a computer. But but still, that's a nice, at least he knew that much. I'm sure he would have been fine, but I think we got the best of the candidates. You're right, Joe Mike. I mean, we should be happy. We got a top candidate for the head coaching carousel. And again, we're a bottom ghetto franchise. We got one of the top candidates in this cycle. Did we get the top candidate? No. But you know what? We came very close to getting Mike Vrabel. I hope everybody understands. If Jared Mayo did not get fired at the Patriots, Mike Vrabel is probably your head coach. Just think about that for 5 seconds. And let that make your head spin and explode. That's been reported by multiple people. Burt Breer, Diana Duchini, and one other source that I'm forgetting about, Zach Rosenblatt. They all said we had a real shot at Vrabel, except that the Patriot job came open, and that was where his heart was, obviously, for obvious reasons. I mean, think about that. That's crazy. We had a real shot at Mike frickin' Vrabel? What? Us? What? Where? What? Hello? That is craziness. And that kind of thing has to has to give us hope because we don't have a lot of hope right now. Think about the AFC East division. The Patriots don't have a great roster, but they do have Vrabel and May in place already. The Bills are set for the next 10 years. They got McDermott and they got Allen. Those people aren't going anywhere, in my opinion, anytime soon. The Pagulas would be completely stupid, regardless of what happens in today's game, to ever get rid of McDermott, and they're certainly not getting rid of Josh Allen anytime. And then the Dolphins have the boy genius Mike McDaniels, and if he can manage to stay healthy, Tua Tango Vailoa, who's very good when he's healthy, and he has the right kind of receivers and offense. So that's our division. And we got a first-time head coach. We should be excited about him. He's a good candidate. Okay, that's good. But we don't have the quarterback situation of the future figured out. So it's going to be a hard road to hoe for the future. It's not easy. It's not like you're just coming into some backwater division with nothing going on and you're gonna rah your way to the to the top. It's not going to happen. This is going to take a lot of smart decision making very fast to get this thing turned around. And we got to just hope that AG and Darren Mougey are the right people to pull it off. But it's not going to be easy. And hopefully they are the right men for the job and they make the right decisions. But it's not going to be easy. Not going to be easy. Joe Mike says next, I would love to hear more front office hires. That's another, we already talked, maybe you missed it already, Joe, but we did talk about this sort of thing. The next thing Mougey's got to do is this. Who are his lieutenants? They were talking about Dave Ziegler maybe being a lieutenant. I'd like to keep Phil Savage on board in a lieutenant position, maybe Dave Ziegler as a lieutenant position, and then maybe I don't think they're going the front office advisor, director of football operations route. As far as we know, the reporting seems to be that they're not doing that. But then they got to look at the cap people, like we were just talking about, all the money people, all the money men, who I think also caused the downfall of Joe Douglas, in addition to Zach Wilson. Need to be looked at. And that's an important part of it. The contracts are an important part of how you build the team and how you structure everything, as is nutrition. One thing to keep in mind, if you listen to Sean Payton's, and now that we have Darren Mougey, Sean Payton's he always was, but he's a very important person to listen to some of the things he says, because Payton is an influence on Glenn. He's an influence on Mougey. He got the stamp of both of those people got the stamp of approval from Sean and George Payton over at the Broncos. But one of the things that Sean Payton said was very interesting at his end of year press conference. I don't know if you guys saw it. He said something very, very interesting. He said, we had an extreme advantage in terms of health this year. And he went on to say how many injuries they had versus the previous year. And he was taking somewhat of a shot against Nathaniel Hackett, the previous regime. And he was saying, from that regime, they had, this many injuries. And when we came here, we've reduced it to X number. And this is giving us a competitive advantage. All right. So this is something to keep in mind, because I don't have it here. Do I? I had it somewhere, but there's a study done. What correlates with winning in the NFL? Is it penalties? Is it injuries? So they looked at all these things. One of the things that definitely correlates with winning in the NFL is health. If you have fewer injuries, significantly fewer injuries than your competitors, then you have an advantage over them. Penalties don't matter. There's no correlation. Not that they don't matter, but there's no correlation except maybe for the McFloppies over there in Kansas City. There's no real correlation with penalties to playoff teams. In other words, it's not that the highest number of penalty people are all the worst teams. It's a mix. So there's no correlation between frequent penalty frequency and playoff making. There is a correlation with injuries to wins. That's an academic study that was done separate from what Sean Payton was talking about. But then Sean Payton talked about this and said, we think we have an advantage with how we keep players healthy. Now, we got Darren Mougey here. Where does Darren Mougey come from? Denver. So what are the things that the Broncos did, okay, to get that situation? I don't know. That's a question for Mougey. Now, if you remember, Joe Douglas tried to improve upon that. It was one of the things he was concerned with, and he made attempts to fix it, and it didn't work. So whatever Douglas tried and the people Douglas hired and the methodologies and processes that they put in place did not really work. We did not have any kind of significant advantage to other teams injury-wise. But Sean Payton's claiming the Denver Broncos do and will going forward. Now, it's something to watch going forward. Was it just luck these last couple of years, or is this going to be a trend going forward where that it actually is an advantage that they have? And then, okay, what are the things that they put in place, and why can't we put them in place? And Darren Mougey's here. So if anybody's going to know what those things that they put in place are, he would be the one. So that's something else to keep an eye on. Injuries are extremely important. Everybody has injuries. If you can have significantly fewer injuries than other teams, you have a significant advantage. This has been proven in an academic study. And I used to have this study, but I don't know what I did with it. But you'll have to take my word for it. Scrolling through, there's a lot of comments here. So Joe Mike is here. Joe, don't worry about Sherwood. We might lose Sherwood to anybody. We need to sign Sherwood before he hits the market. But we have to see the composition of the team before we know what we're going to do at number 7. Javon Walker is a great prospect, so he's certainly possible, but we got to see what other decisions we make, what's going on with the free agents, who did we lose, who did we not. We have an exclusive negotiating window with all of our free agents until the middle of March. So I'm hoping we retain Sherwood, but we have to keep in mind that it's not just Ulbrich and Saleh, which, yeah, they're going to want Sherwood, but everybody knows Jamie and Sherwood. It's not just them. Now, Sherwood might want to go with them. That's the other side of it. Sherwood might be comfortable under Ulbrich or Saleh. So that's the other side of it. And if he is, then I hope he gets a huge, gigantic contract and we get a lot of comp picks out of it. PC Salami, I still don't have much hope. Well, I don't blame you, PC. I don't blame you. And also, PC, you don't have to be a Jet fan. Like I could see people looking at this situation and going, you know what, this isn't for me. You know, I'm gonna follow baseball. I'm gonna follow hockey. I'm gonna follow. You don't have to be a Jet fan. I mean, Jet fandom is a lot of pain. Some people don't want to go through the pain, and that's totally understandable. You know, and if you look at it, I mean, we got a tough situation. Vrabel in May, McDaniels and Tua, McDermott and Allen. That's in our division. That's tough. You may say that's too tough for me. I'm not buying in to any of this stuff with the Jets. We got a first-time head coach, a first-time general manager. Not good enough. We didn't get Vrabel. We don't have a quarterback. Screw it. I'm out. There's too much pain. And I would totally understand that. If people don't want to be Jet fans, I can totally understand it. You know, it's a lot of pain. It's about, it's just pain after pain. It's just constant pain. And life is very difficult. And if the Jets, all they do is provide you with pain, what are we doing? Why follow them? So, hey, man, if anybody wants to jump off the Jet fandom, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm not going to be mad at you. Clappy Goose, Spaceship Frankie. Yeah, we got to think about the future. Clappy Goose, 6969. Good to see you here. Yeah, we need to have our eyes on the prize. We might need to go to Mars to find talent for this fucking team. That's where we got everybody looking on Earth. What about at Mars? Maybe there's some good football players on Uranus. We got to be looking everywhere. We got to send scouts to look at the Martian Football League, the MFL. What about that? If the Martians have a Martian Football League, the MFL, are we allowed to recruit them? What's the rules about that? Are they considered illegal aliens? I mean, we got to look high and low and sideways. We got to look everywhere to find these players because we need special people to be here. Like PC was just talking about. Look, it's not looking good for us, folks. PC was saying I might jump off of here, Jet fandom. I can't take the pain because we keep bringing back these teams. Everybody says we're good, and then we stink. Other times, everybody says we stink, and guess what? We stink. It's just a constant stinking. So we need to get into the spaceship and fly around the universe to find special talents that we can bring in and reverse the curse. We got to do it. We got to do it. We got to do it. Loco Jets. Loco Jets. Crazy Jets. I'm personally curious of the staff hires Mougey's going to make. Yes, lots of people have mentioned this. Loco. We should know, hopefully, within the next coming days, what's going to be the situation. Once the three-headed brain trust is intact, we'll know a lot more about our future. Yeah. Well, let's check X right now. We've been on the air for a while here, closing in on an hour and a half. So let's see if there's any new news coming out about such things. There's a lot of carousels. The coaching carousel is coming to a close. Pretty much the Saints have to finish, and then the staffs have to get built out. But then there's going to be the quarterback carousel. And one of the things that has to get decided is the future of Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford. And today, Ian Rappaport is reporting that it's an open question. I would suspect he comes back, but he has suffered a lot of injuries in his career. And they said he played through broken ribs this year. That's a tough son of a bitch. But he might want to keep testing fate with all these injuries that he's got. So we'll see. And if he doesn't come back now, the Rams are in the market for a quarterback, and that affects things. And after that, it's going to be Rodgers. What he wants to do. Is he coming back? Is he coming back for the Jets, et cetera, et cetera? And then based on all of that, then you have to figure out the cap ramifications and the knock-on effects, such as, okay, Rodgers wants to come back. Okay, we want him. We sign him. We fix the contract. Okay, what about Adams? What about Lazard? And then, so there's a lot of decisions to be made. And so we absolutely need to get our front office all situated. But, however, there does not seem to be any current news about that breaking right now anyways. So nothing further about Mougey's staff as far as I can see here. Rod says, I'm staying with the NY Jets. Yeah, but I don't blame anybody who says, you know what? What's the point of this? I mean, look at the mountain we have to climb. Again, I don't think people realize what's going on in the AFC East. Vrabel and May, McDaniels and Tua, McDermott and Allen. I mean, we got a big mountain to climb, and we have no idea what's going on with our quarterback, which is not a good situation to be in. And we got tons of holes on defense, and we got a first-time head coach and a first-time GM. These young fellas. Now, I will say I love Aaron Glenn, and so I'm probably gonna be president of the AG fan club. I'll just tell you that much. I think he's fantastic. But does that mean he's gonna know how to run a team and how to, be a head coach? We don't know. He's never done it before. I think he's gonna be good. I think so. All that I know about him and everything I've been reading and listening to. Well, let me tell you guys, if you guys want a good thing to watch about Aaron Glenn, if you're curious, who is this Aaron Glenn beyond just the things that are in his bio? Go on YouTube and watch the Pivot podcast with him and the Pivot guys. And that's a good interview. They get in depth. It's about an hour, and you'll get a feel for who the man is and some of the things he's done in his career and how he's worked his way up from the bottom in the front in coaching and all that. So that's a good resource there. The Pivot podcast on YouTube, and just type in Aaron Glenn interview Pivot podcast. You'll get it. And watch that. I mean, it'll give you a good idea who the man is. I think he'll be good. Do I know? No, nobody knows because he hasn't done it yet. And I hope he'll be good, of course. And a lot of being good as a head coach comes down to your quarterback and your offensive line and your pass catchers and all of that. So, yeah, no new news yet about Mougey and the rest. Phil Adams says Jets fandom is all about hanging with each other. The football is a side issue. Yeah, and there's another way to look at it, man. Like you could look at it. So this is called like a social object. So the social object is the football, but the thing that the people want in this way Phil's talking about it here is the social connection amongst each other. Basically things like this live stream with all of you in the chat room and me here in the spaceship. And that's the thing. And because if the Jets didn't exist, I couldn't do this show, right? Like it would be me talking about there wouldn't be much to talk about. So so the thing that you want as a human being is actually the social connections and the discussion and the emotions and the thing, like when we're watching it on the game days, together over on the Green Bean channel, and we're experiencing all of the highs and lows of the emotions of the game together. That's the thing you actually want as a human being under this theory that Phil Adams is talking about. This is called the social object, and the social object in this scenario is the football team. And it's the same thing with like concerts. Why do people go to concerts? It's not necessarily that they want to hear the music. They could hear the music much better, sitting at home with their headphones on. They like the music, but they go to a concert to get the social aspect of listening to it together, the emotions of the show, feeling the crowd and the highs and lows of the performance, and feeling the live music with other people. It's the social aspect of going to a concert that people want. They don't necessarily just want to hear the music. The music is the object, and then the social aspect is the real value of that. So you could look at football that way. There's lots of ways you could look at football. You could look at it through the analytical lens. You could look at it through this social lens, through the marketing lens, through the business lens. We try to cover as much of those things as possible here. I like covering the business side of it, and I think we're going to do more of that on this channel, maybe. But we'll see. But this is another thing. You could come back and say, I'm just staying with the Jets because I want to hang out with Phil Adams. Phil Adams is just a cool dude. And if the Jets is what allows me to hang out with Phil Adams, I mean, the great Phil Adams, I mean, I could hang out in a chat room. Are you kidding me? With the great Phil Adams from Great Britain? What? I get to hang out with Phil Adams? What? Yeah, and the Jets allow you to do that because he's a Jet fan and he wants to be in this chat room and other chat rooms and other forums and so forth. So you could say, I'm just going to be a Jet fan because I want to hang out with Phil frickin' Adams. That's all. Yeah. And Alan Dodds. Can Jaime get Starlink? I need a little Starlink. Little Starlink. Phil says, I'm tired of getting my hopes up. Yeah, I totally, completely understand, Phil. It can be exhausting. This is what we're talking about. And if you want to jump off the ship, nobody's going to give you a hard time, buddy. I totally get it, man. Some people just can't deal with the emotions. I mean, it's hard. Some people have a hard time dealing with pain. Some people have a hard time dealing with emotional distress. And that's what the Jets give you, pain and emotional distress, if you only look at the wins and losses. Now, a lot of people, that's all they look at. Did we win? Did we lose? That's it. They don't care about the process of how we got there. They don't care about the schematics. They don't care about the people. They don't care about the social construct, the social aspect of who they had the emotional experience with. They just want to win. They just want to get wins. And that's the end of it. We're going to look at the scoreboard only. Well, those people, this team is probably not for you. Go become a Chiefs fan. Go become, a Bills fan, because those teams are consistent winners. We're not. We're consistent losers. So, I cannot fault anybody for being tired of it. I can't fault you, Phil. I'm not going to fault you. I'm not. Not me. I totally get it. It's been a long time, man. Been a long time. We have not gotten our act together since the new CBA has been put into place, 2012, which is the modern era of football. In the modern era of football, we have just been gigantic losers, and that's just the way it is. And some people have a hard time with that. You can't blame them. Some people just want to look at the scoreboard and say, did we win or did we lose? And if it's just losing all the time, what am I doing here? I'm not here for the losing. I'm here for the winning, and the winning doesn't seem to be happening. So what am I doing? And I don't blame you, Phil. Go follow another sport. Go follow another team. Go get out of sports all entirely and become a movie buff or something. I can't blame people for choosing different things to do with their time. We're going to spend all this time and energy on a freaking team, and all they do is lose. I totally understand that. There's a lot of people who focus completely 100% on the scoreboard. The end scoreboard in this case is the end result. And for those people, this is probably not the team for you, to be honest with you. And I don't blame you. It's going to be rough. I just explained how rough it's going to be in our AFC East division. I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Not right now, not today. I like the hires we've made. I hope they do good, but without a long-term quarterback in this league, you're in the ghetto still. We're just a ghetto team, man. Oh, you can, Eddie. Oh, you can. And if somebody wants to, they can. I'm not going to blame them. You can do whatever you want in this world, McGuire. You have total agency. You can do whatever you want in this world, as long as you're not violating any laws. Okay. It's not violating any laws. But other than that, I mean, you can quit a team anytime you'd like if you want to. And as for me, I'm not going to blame you. I'm watching very closely, as everyone knows, what goes on with this team. And I can't say as of today I'm super optimistic without a quarterback and without a plan in place. Now, maybe all that'll change. I'm optimistic about Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey. I hope they do a good job. but I got to know what their plan at quarterback is. I got to know who they're hiring. I got to know what processes changes we're going to make. What are we doing on the nutrition side? What are we doing on the camp side? What are we doing? So all of those answers will start to get filled in over the next few weeks, and maybe I'll start to get more optimistic. But as of right now, I look at the AFC East and I see us in the worst position. Now, the Patriots are going to be bad. Well, they won't be bad. The Patriots will be middling next year, but then after that, the roster is going to be fine. Vrabel's going to fix it. And so the other two teams have good rosters. You could say the Dolphins are a little shakier because they're not as deep, because they've had some very bad drafts recently. So they're lacking for depth. And yet somehow Chris Grier keeps his job all the time. I understand how that guy doesn't get fired. But nonetheless, they have Tua and they have McDaniels, and they'll make it work somehow, at least to make, to come close to the playoffs probably every year. So I don't blame anybody who wants to get off the wagon. I got no ill will to anybody who says, you know what, this is just not for me. Not for me, bro. Find another sport to follow. Stop following sports. Stop following football. Want to become a movie buff? You want to have some other kind of hobbies, building bird houses? I don't know, whatever it may be. I can't blame you. B Trav says, I'm pulling hard for Glenn. He seems to be a legit down to earth guy. Yeah, he is very authentic. What you see is what you get. He's worked his way up from the bottom. He learned, I can tell, I don't know how many of you watched the Pivot interview, but one of the things you learn if you watch that one, when he was with the Jets, he started out as a scout, believe it or not. He wanted to go into coaching. Bill Parcells said no. He was like, what? He was like, no, we're going to start you out scouting because I think you can be a head coach someday and you need a scouting foundation, Bill Parcells said to Aaron Glenn. And the Jets got him started. And when he came in as a scout, he started at the bottom. And he said, don't treat me any different. People started to, treat him a little different because he was a great player in the league. He was like, no, don't treat me any different. And he would do any menial task. He would go get the coffee. He would make the coffee. He would do any task. He was not too big for it. And he even taught himself Excel and PowerPoint and Visio. Think about this. This is a player who played 15 years in the league. He wants to be a head coach someday. He's starting at the bottom of scouting and he's teaching himself. He said he got an account on lynda.com, if you remember that, and taught himself Excel and PowerPoint and Visio because he didn't know how to do those things and the other scouts did, and he wanted to beat them. And he knew he had to beat them in order to get to where he wanted to go. And that is the sort of thing that is fantastic. Now, does that mean he's going to be a great head coach? No, I don't know. But I do know that AG is a great man. He's a great football man, and he's not afraid to do anything in the organization, talk to anyone, learn anything to beat you. That's the guy we got now as our head guy. And that is good news. But does that mean he's going to be successful, Frankie? I don't know. Nobody knows. You need a quarterback in this league. We got an old man and a bunch of lint right now. Well, I should say that. We got an old man, and then we got a slightly lesser older man, and a developmental prospect who nobody knows anything about, Jordan Travis, in terms of whether he can do anything in this league or not. I mean, that's not a great QB situation. But I'm a big fan of Aaron Glenn, and I will be rooting very hard for him to succeed and lead us to the promised land. Phil Adams says, almost all humans want to belong to something, a brotherhood. Some groups just have an inbuilt coolness. Jet fans are that. Well, that's a very positive way to put it, Phil. I don't know about a coolness. I mean, some fan bases are just insufferable. Philadelphia, Buffalo, New England. Some people say Miami. I haven't seen too much evidence of that. I think Miami fans are just bandwagon fans. But I mean, there's a lot of doofuses who are in the Jet fandom as well. Let's not pretend. Flatbush Dre is here. You know, you can't go wrong with a Flatbush person. Well, you can. I mean, Jeremy's from Flatbush also, but but for the most part, you can't go wrong with a Flatbush dude. Who says no expectations this year. Just be well coached and least penalized. Haven't had that in years. I think the fan base is going to be. This is the thing about the fan base. It's like, do we really want to go through another rebuild year where it's like we have no expectation to win? It's like, golly, we've been through a lot of that. It's like, really, we're back to basically year one of Salah. So again, once we know the composition of the team, once we know what's going on with the three amigos, once we know what's going on with these free agents, did we retain Sherwood? Did we retain Eccles? Did we retain Morgan, Conk? I'd like to retain those gentlemen. But if we didn't retain any of them and we start seeing trades happen, then we're doing a full rebuild. And man, this fan base has been beaten down. I'm telling you, JoJo. I mean, you see it right here with Phil. Phil's saying, I'm tired, bro. That's a loyal fan. And he's like, I'm tired of this, man. I'm tired of this. I mean, Phil is a longtime loyal fan. And even he is saying, I am tired of this losing bull crap. And we're going to do another one where we win 6 games. Oh, it's going to be a painful season, bro. JoJo. I mean, imagine me and Green Bean and Jeremy on doing the games, doing the watch-alongs. It's going to be so painful, man. To watch terrible passes and fumbles and running backs just killing us. It's going to be rough. Travis Scott. What's the story with Travis Scott? Who's Travis Scott? Is there a story with Travis Scott? Let's look it up, Flatbush Dre. Let's look it up. Travis Scott is a American rapper. So what's the deal with Travis Scott? News for Travis Scott. Doesn't seem to be anything about the Jets. Travis Scott, he has shoes coming out. He's going on concert. I mean, what's the deal with Travis Scott? Seems he's donating money to the wildfire. I mean, what's the deal? I don't know. I don't know anything about it, Flatbush Dre. You'll have to tell me, buddy. Yeah, this is pre-2012, Harlan. I know you're an old timer, but you got to get up to 2012. That's the modern day of the NFL. Oh, Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis. Well, nobody knows anything about Jordan Travis, Flatbush Dre. Nobody knows anything. He's a giant mystery box. All we know is he was injured. He had a setback, and then he didn't do anything on the field this year. So nobody knows anything. You can't count on him for anything. He's going to be in training camp. Hopefully he plays. And once he goes to training camp and practice, you look at him and you see what's going on. Nobody knows. Now, could he turn out to be something? Yeah, could. But you can't count on it because he hasn't done anything. Hasn't done anything. Not many would want a full rebuild year. I sure don't. Yeah. And that's we'll find out more here in the coming days and weeks about what the direction the team's going to be in. So Ohio says, we've been down, kicked in the nuts, laughed at, dirt kicked in our face. We keep coming back for more. Why? We're loyal to the end. Yeah, some of us are, Ohio, but again, I cannot fault anybody who wants to jump off the wagon. I can't personally fault anybody with the amount of losing and the amount of stupid ass things that Woody has done, especially this last year. I mean, getting rid of Salah 5 games in was pretty stupid. Now, would we have made the playoffs if we didn't do that? Probably not, but it certainly did not help. So just checking for the latest news. Saints seem like maybe they could be going after Mike McCarthy. Should be fine for them. I don't think anybody would be too excited about it, but it would be fine. Well, yeah, exactly. Eddie Hunt is here. QB free agents are slim pickings. Yeah, that's the other thing. There's no obvious thing to do in the free agency world that makes a lot of sense. So anything you do free agency wise, if it's not Rodgers, then is a roll of the dice. There's no short thing there. It's a lot of the usual suspects. The top guy is Sam Darnold, of course. If the Vikings let him go, they could slap a franchise tag on him. They could sign him to a deal, but it does look like they are going to let him go. But if he gets to market, he's number one. And then you have people like Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Trey Lance. These people are all get in. Yeah, they move it there. All right, so I'm going to call that a show. Thank you for joining me in the spaceship. Tonight we will be coming back at 6:30 p.m. on this channel, the Frankie from Flatbush channel, to watch the Kermit McFloppies versus the Joshua Allen McFloppies. And we'll see who flops more, who flops less, what the refs are up to, what they're not up to, and do the Bills make it all the way to the Super Bowl, or will the Kansas Swiftie Chiefs make it to the Super Bowl? That's what we got going on. Will it be the young Jaden Daniels in his rookie year going all the way to the Super Bowl? Or will it be Nick Sirianni's Snoquan Barkley's Philadelphia Eagles making it once again to the Super Bowl, which will again make Philadelphia fans even more insufferable than they are already. So we'll see you tonight. Thanks for joining. Please click the like button on the way out. Subscribe if you're not already. And tell everybody about the old Frankie from Flatbush channel as we try to bump up our subscriber base to try to get it up to 1,000 eventually. We're a long way away, but we got to be hopeful. Hopeful for the future. Hopeful. Why not? Because it's better than being not hopeful.